So we're going to use our double session today to give you a very practical run through of our new carbon calculator and to show you how the data the tool provides can inform decisions around reduction of your emissions from production. As Andrea said, there'll be a short break halfway through and time for Q&A at the end of the second half, so feel free to post your questions anytime throughout the session. So before we get started, I'm going to cover some AdGreen basics for those who might be perhaps less familiar with us. At AdGreen, we unite the advertising industry to eliminate the negative environmental impacts of production. We are part of the Advertising Association and our team is based in the UK. We really have two aims: to enable the community to measure and reduce carbon emissions from production. And we have a strategic partnership with Albert, which is essentially AdGreen but for film and TV, which allows us to use their foundation of the past 10 years of work to really accelerate our progress. We started just last September. And we're supported by leading industry organisations as well as trade bodies representing brands, ad agencies, production companies and photographers here in the UK. And the UK operation is powered by a small levy on ad spend paid by forward-thinking participating advertisers and collected by their agencies before being passed to AdGreen each quarter. And we're also looking at expanding our team and localising our resources over the next 12 months to support production in other key territories too. So what does AdGreen consist of? Well, we're rolling out various elements at the moment, and we started last year with our training. So that's 2-hour sessions that are online in very small groups. We've trained over 1,500 people since last November. And then we have a resources guide as well on the website, which anyone can download at any time. That's really aimed at creative teams, production teams, to help them understand exactly what to do in all areas of production, whether it's stills, motion, audio, whether it's in the UK or being shot elsewhere, and no matter how big or small your shoot is. We also have access to the Creative Energy Scheme, which is a sort of group energy buying basket, which we'll talk a little bit more about later on. And in September this year, so just a couple of months ago, we introduced the carbon calculator. So this tool, which we're going to talk about today, allows production teams to collaboratively measure carbon footprints for campaign projects and for brands and production consultants to review the information too. So really collaborative, trying to get everyone involved in this conversation. In our first month, we've had over 100 campaigns set up in the tool. And as of yesterday morning, although as to the first section of the summit yesterday, we got quite a few more registrations, which is really exciting. As of yesterday morning, we had 100 agencies, 140 production companies set up to measure, and over 540 users registered to use that tool as well to input and review information. So we're really excited about its kind of uptake in the first month. We had a whole load more registrations yesterday, and if you aren't registered to use it yet, please go ahead and register. If you are not yet registered, you can do that. You can go to our booth as well, and you'll have more info on our website too. You can click on the Carbon Calculator menu tab for more, including a series of how-to videos which talk you through how to use the tool. And the calculator also includes the new offsetting hub, which you can also access via our website. So the calculator is what we're going to focus on today. And there are 4 key areas in the tool. So the calculator works by allowing users to enter information for their production in 4 key activity areas: transport, spaces, materials and disposal. So they can build up a picture of the carbon impact of their production and work together to reduce it. And now I'm hoping Sophie can hear me. Sophie, perhaps nod if you can. And now I'm going to pass to Sophie, who is the project manager who helped us deliver the calculator and knows it back to back, inside out. So she's going to give us a good overview.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Jo. I am really excited to be here with you and with everybody who's watching today. So to start with, I'm going to give you a brief overview of our carbon calculator tool and what we're doing today and why. The carbon calculator uses Albert's core tool, which was developed by BAFTA Media Technology for the broadcast industry. So Albert have just had their 10th birthday, so we're making use of 10 years of investment of time, resources and user experience in the television production sector. So recently, we at AdGreen have been working on a new bespoke user and security structure to meet the unique requirements of the advertising industry. And this structure has been built in very close consultation with our working group, who represent companies from all across the production journey. And it's designed to be collaborative, allowing us to measure and reduce CO2e as we work together. So this means that all of the companies who are collaborating on a campaign and the projects within it are brought together within the tool to view its footprint. And everyone who's been attached to the campaign or to the individual projects can see the footprint together and use the data for reporting purposes. However, it is important to note that the brand, the parent companies and production consultancies take a reviewer role in the tool, and it is only the advertising agency, production company and service companies contributors who can add data. So that's a very brief overview. All of this background is explained in a lot more detail on the AdGreen website, and that's a place where there are lots of very short how-to videos. There's a glossary, and there's also some really in-depth webinars giving a full overview and a walkthrough of each section. So do take a look through there if you'd like to see more inside the tool itself and you'd like to investigate that after this session. So we all emergency, why we're here at COP26 and why we're doing this. This particular tool, I believe, offers an opportunity to come together to make a very practical difference. And this particular session uses the AdGreen calculator to showcase what you can do and the impact that even small changes can make. So for this demonstration, we're going to take you through a hypothetical production, showing you how changes impact directly on the footprint.
Thanks, Sophie. So let's get started on our production so that you can see the tool in action and see how it can be used to make decisions which will get you closer to that elusive zero, which we're all kind of working towards at the moment. So for the purposes of today's session, we've created an imaginary production, which is based on a typical sort of TV ad shoot or project, which I hope will be recognisable to many of you who are listening today. So using the design of the new tool, we're going to lay it out with all of the production partners who would be working together on a sort of typical shoot. So Sophie will now show you around the layout, and then you can watch the graphs and see the carbon footprint being measured and then reduced. So let's start the slides, please, on the first slide. I think there might be one before this. Don't know if you can go backwards, Sophie.
Let me just see, hang on a second.
There we go, that's it, perfect.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. Lovely, so here is the campaign overview page for our hypothetical campaign. So I'm hoping you can see this because I know that it's quite small, but essentially at the top there we've got Mission Zero, which is our campaign name. And the product that we are advertising here is called Oh So Light Crisps. We've got 3 projects in the campaign at the moment. So you can see down the bottom, they're listed. We've got one in each of the 3 categories. That's motion, audio and stills. You can see the carbon footprint, which is really the CO2e or carbon dioxide equivalent for all of those projects added together in the pie chart.
Actually,
and
sorry,
also
Sophie, if you just...
Oh, sorry.
Sophie, just jump back one. I think we're one adrift. There we go. Perfect.
Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Lovely. So you can see the carbon footprint, which is the total CO2e or carbon dioxide equivalent of the 3 projects that you can see at the bottom added together in this pie chart on the campaign overview page. So I think what we want to explain is that how everybody's brought together, because campaigns are all started by what we've called the principal production partner, or the PPP. Now, they're generally the ad agency, but we've kept it flexible because we recognise that's not always the case. When setting up, they are encouraged to assign a brand and by association their parent company and a production consultancy to the campaign too. So you can see them all listed there. In this case, we've got Cool Ad Agency as the PPP, and they're the ones who've set it up. The brand is Crisp Burritos, and their parent is Crisp Central. The production consultancy is Consult for You. So the projects have got 2 third-party production partners working on them. That's a production company and a production service company. And their footprints are shown in the bar charts on the right-hand side underneath the cool ad agencies. So essentially, what you can see from this campaign overview is that there are lots of different roles that you could take as part of a team working on a footprint in this tool. And I expect that there are people watching here today who might fall into any one of these core company categories.
Yeah, so for this one, we're going to focus on the light crisps tasty TVC. We like crisps here at AdGreen. And this is a location-based production with filming in Cape Town. So if Sophie clicks through to the project overview page, we can see more info on the actual project itself. There we go.
Brilliant. Yes. So this is the project overview page, and that is for a motion project, one of the ones in the list that we had on the previous campaign overview page. So here I can see the logos for the TPPs, the third-party production partners. I can see the dates of the production, the delivery date, the budget. I can see the fact it's original content, it's a motion project, it's 30 seconds. We're capturing some stills, some key visuals as part of this too. It's shooting for 5 days. It's live action on location and has some CGI and VFX. So this is all data that we're capturing as part of this calculator tool. So for the purposes of this demonstration today, we have not entered a budget. And that's because we will demonstrate that costs will actually come down as we remove flights, for example. So we're showing that reducing carbon will be saving you money too. But please do keep in mind all the way through this, as Joe will keep saying as well, this is an illustration. We know that there will be a myriad of ways to approach every individual project. This is very much a work in progress of how it could be done. And we hope that you will enjoy the ride of going through our mission to zero and use this information to hopefully make some decisions and some kind of have a little bit of thought processing, knowing the impact that the type of decisions could have on your carbon footprint. One other thing to keep in mind is that the activities, for example, in here we've got the travel and transport in red, are split across the bar graphs that you can see because the carbon is measured by the budget. So as spend is split between what falls into the agency, the production company and the service company's budgets for this production as a whole, they each account for the carbon footprint of their particular allocation. So for example, here you can see that the agency and the production company have got large chunks of travel in red, and the service company has really quite a small amount in comparison. The project that we're showing you today reflects a hypothetical television commercial. It's being produced out of the UK for this example, although it is a global tool, so we could be based anywhere in the world to be creating this project together. It is a location-based production that we've decided to go with today, with 5 days of filming in Cape Town. There are 20 cast and some visual effects. There are 15 people flying business class from London to Cape Town to attend the shoot, and they're staying in hotels. The spaces, including offices, accommodation and post houses, are all using non-renewable energy. Taxis and vans to the shoot, all running on diesel. The power is from a diesel Jenny. Everyone's having meat-based meals and all the waste is going to landfill. And that is the current situation where we're starting at for this particular demonstration.
Thanks, Sophie. So all the activities we just listed fall into the 4 categories I mentioned earlier. So transport, spaces, materials, and disposal. In the tool, you'll notice that spaces is actually split out into 4, which gives us 7 activity areas in total. And that's represented by the 7 colours that you see here next to that bar chart there. So that little key to the left of the pie chart, sorry. So as Sophie said, as an example, we can see that our agency and both production companies are contributing some emissions in the travel and transport section, which you see in red. So as we move through each of the decisions we're going to make, keep an eye on that bar chart and the pie charts to see how the contributions and portions of the pie charts change. You might also see the order of the contributors bars change. So the tool always shows your own company first, and we're logged in as the ad agency. So it's always going to show the ad agency. That's cool ad agency on top. And then it puts the order of the other bar charts, the other contributors, in order of size in terms of emissions. So highest to lowest with ours on top. And the bars are shown in reference to the biggest one. So keep an eye on the total CO2e number for the overall reduction that's happening as we go through. So we want to show you how the tool can be used right from the start to get an idea of your project's footprint. This is a hypothetical project where it's early enough that decisions can be made in order to change the final footprint before you kind of get too much into the production. The resources deck that I mentioned earlier can be used at this sort of early stage to give you lots of ideas before you kind of really get into production, so that you can reduce before you even get started. And that can be found on our website and can be downloaded. It's a big sort of PDF, essentially a digest of the information on the website. So do download that, share that with suppliers, share it with your clients, and use that to really help you make some decisions. So before we get started, let's note the total emissions from this estimated footprint. It's 155 tonnes of CO2e. This is a whopper. And I just want to give you a reference point. So from Albert's tool, that's the film and TV version, in 2019, the average carbon amount generated when creating an hour of television, so an hour of broadcast TV, whether that was an hour of news, an hour of drama, was 9.17 tonnes. So here we've got 155 tonnes and we're only making 30 seconds. Wow, this is just giant. So we're going to kick off with making a really easy change. We're going to switch our business flights to economy. So in reality, we know that flying overnight from London to Cape Town and then getting off the plane to do a recce when you've not slept and maybe you're 6 feet tall is going to be pretty horrible. But we are illustrating the power of simple changes here. So Sophie, what's that going to do?
Right, so thanks, Jo. I'm going to click my clicker and hope that that changes. So just switching 14 business and to economy can reduce emissions associated with flying by 65%. We have gone from 150 tonnes of CO2e to 68. And that is the same as the carbon emitted in producing 58,000 loaves of bread. I just want to say that we are giving some references today. They've been calculated by our friend Will at Albert using Mike Berners-Lee's book, How Bad Are Bananas, as a reference. So we have more than halved our project's footprint with just this one change, and switching business to economy reduces your emissions for those flights by 60% on average. Business flights are, of course, much more expensive too, so there are lots of reasons why your production manager will also appreciate this change.
Yep, and you'll notice the cost to offset has also halved as well as the emissions. And of course, we'd always advocate for as much reduction as possible. Offsetting should be the absolute last thing you do. You don't want to sort of offset your way out of doing a really massive shoot when you could reduce first. And there's so much more we can do to reduce this one first as well. So next up, what if we change our location to an amazing beach in Barcelona rather than going to Cape Town?
Okay. So This brings it down, from 68 tonnes to 27. It is a massive difference, isn't it? And you can see that we've got a reduction of 41 tonnes, which works out as 3.9 tonnes per person travelling. Now, that's the same as powering an average UK house for a year. So switching the location to Barcelona instead of Cape Town is swapping a 20,000 kilometre return trip from London to a 2,300 kilometre return trip to Barcelona per person. So if anyone likes stats, for 14 people, that's 247,800 kilometres to be precise.
Wow, so it's really made a really big difference to those bar charts too. There's a real difference in the distribution of emissions across the activity areas now, with a lot less red, which was the travel and transport, as we mentioned. Okay, so what if we make use of local crew and instead of sending 10, we now send 2? Who those 2 are, we're not going to say or suggest, but we're sending 2 instead of 10. What does that do, Sophie?
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so right, it's gone from 27 tonnes to 17.52, and that's almost 10 tonnes saved by making that change as well. So this saving is mostly the flights, as we've thousands of miles from the air travel, but the accommodation has been massively reduced too. So things do have a knock-on effect. Removing 8 people staying 10 nights each has taken 80 nights in total from the hotel carbon footprint and, of course, the associated budget. So to make this reduction from a practical point of view, we will make use of local crew, and we can choose how to split it. In this case, like you said, we're not going to say necessarily how to do this, but for example, one person from production and one from the agency.
Great. So let's just review. So from our starting point so far, we've switched from business to economy. We've switched our location to somewhere closer to where the project's agency and production company are based. So in this example, it's based in the UK. And we've also chosen to take less people and to use local crew instead, which has saved emissions from flights and hotels. And we've also seen the agency, which is the top green smiley logo, the Cool Ad agency, and production company bars reduced dramatically, with the service company now responsible for the majority of emissions for this project. And at this point, the bulk is dark blue, that's materials, and then non-filming and filming spaces. So before we get onto those big chunks, let's see what else we can chip away. So perhaps we could review the type of hotels we've got these last 2 people in, which are represented by the 2 yellow chunks for the agency and production company.
Okay, so right, that's gone from 17.52 down to 17.35. So that's a little bit shaved off again. And that's by switching from luxury hotels, which we had in, to economy hotels, which generate less emissions per person.
That's great. So next up, can we get the remaining travel and transport bits a little bit smaller? Although it's a little bit further to go to, say, Barcelona, it would be to go to Paris. What if there was a train option for our 2 travellers to get to the location down in Spain?
Yep. Okay. So 17.35 tonnes down to 16.6. As there is no longer the long haul distance, it is possible for our 2 team members to travel by ground transport in this particular demonstration.
That's great. And what about, as we've seen kind of through COVID, what if on this particular project we were able to work remotely completely? So no flights or no accommodation at all. Can we remove that accommodation slither in yellow as well as the trains in the red portions?
Okie dokie. Yeah, that's brought it down from 16.6 tonnes to 16.49, and that's getting nice and low now. So why has that made a difference? Going remote has removed all of the yellow for the 10 nights of accommodation that each person had for the recce and the shoot. The train footprint was very small, actually. It's just 0.01196 tonnes per person. It's tiny. Carbon light way to travel if you can make the swap. So travel does usually account for 40% of the average production's emissions, as we've seen in this first half of our mission to zero. And as we saw to start with, it can, of course, be very much higher. Baking things like travel into scripts means that certain points are set up by the creative at the beginning, even before the production process. So we really recommend that this is thought about at that early stage. And the thought process is, can it be done closer to where your key team are based in order to reduce or even in some cases eliminate the need for travel?